There's a recording happening. Hello, everybody. Let's see who we got here. View. I do not see Jason just yet. Let's give it a minute. Let's see. Hey guys, it's psychic medium Sarah Lemos, and welcome into Mystic Mondays. I'm really excited to be live with you guys. I am waiting for Jason, and once we get Jason in, we'll get this started. There we go. There we go. Good boy, lay down. Let's get you in here. Hey, Jason, you should be joining now. See if we got, get him in here. Poor Pippin is tired. It was so fun the other day was dog day and getting to share pictures with everybody. There we go. And I'm going to pin you.
Can you see me?
I cannot see you. You don't have your camera on just yet. There we go. Yay, wonderful. And let me just admit other people in real quick. Here we go, guys. And those of you that I'm admitting in, as you come in, if you could mute your mics. Jason and I mics are the only ones that should be live. So if you don't mind, please, please, please mute your mics. Now, what's cool about this, Jason, is you and I are going to just chit chat back and forth about our lives and our connections and all the good stuff. And then this will be shared on my YouTube channel where there's more, and then we'll be sharing it on all kinds of different.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so it'll be shared all over the place. And I just shared it this morning, and so there'll be a few people popping in and popping out, but really it's all about our connection and what we're talking about, because like I said, this is going to be shared everywhere. So there'll be a lot of views, which I'm excited about because Jason and I connected. Those of you that don't know how Jason and I connected, I was blessed to have him in some of my classes. Yeah, and it was amazing having you in the class with me and just experiencing, just getting the chance to get to know you. And it was wonderful because right away, I felt like there was this connection that you and I were walking hand in hand, maybe on two sides of the river.
The river.
Yeah, walking hand in hand. And so when the classes were over, when Jason's classes with me were over, he, of course, moved on and continued education. And we're going to talk a little bit about his continued education. But really, I want to talk about how Jason is my healer. So people want to know the people that I work with and how we work. And I have to have a healer. It's one of those things that if you would have asked me a year ago if I had to have a healer, I'd say, no, I'm fine. Everything is just fine. But of course, Jason will be talking about that also. So welcome in today, Jason. I really am so glad that I get to have a few minutes with you and just talk about our experience together. Now, of course, I really want to know, and I think everybody's going to want to know, after taking my classes and finishing with me, you moved on and started taking education somewhere else. And can you talk a little bit about that and what it was like for you?
Sure. And excuse me, I want to first start by thanking Sarah. To use Sarah's language from class, I muddied my gifts a long time ago because in my early 20s, I scared myself. And I also got very, very tired of people pointing fingers at me and telling me I was weird because of the things I saw and the things I felt.
I think there's so many of us that feel that exact same way and had that experience in our 20s. So I think many of us understand that.
So Sarah was the one that really helped me get over that block and open myself up. And I would not be doing what I'm doing today without her. So thank you. She talks about me as her healer. I talk about her as my guru. So,
thank you.
So with that said, give you a little bit of background of what started me on this journey. I come from a family of healers. It was a tradition I experienced when I was very little. I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I'm of mixed background. A lot of my background happens to be Portuguese. And on my dad's side and my mom's side, the women in the family were all healers. So my great-grandmother was what we call in Portuguese feiticeira, which means that she both healed people, but also had the ability to curse. She was very famous on the island of Oahu that I grew up on. Two of her daughters, my great aunts, Georgina and Christina, were also healers. My auntie Georgina was also a feiticeira. And my mother's mother, my Nana, who kind of helped raise me, she was what's called a benzadeira. That's a special kind of healer. They heal by praying for people.
Okay.
By praying for people and by talking to the saints. I grew up in a family who our origins were Jewish, but who were very Catholic. So that's kind of the tradition I came from. I was taken to my aunts when I was little, whenever my mother felt that the illness I had was not physical, but was from a spiritual source. So I grew up in this tradition. For those of you who may be Latino, it's the same as going to see a curandera or a curandero or a bruja or a brujo. It's the exact same tradition, just the Portuguese version. So after studying with Sarah and kind of really having my gifts open up because of what she taught me, I was really, really blessed to find a teacher in the area who's actually a pretty internationally known author. Her name is Katrina Rasbold. And Katrina is a bruja. She comes from the tradition, the Mexican-American tradition of folk healing. And I studied with her for a year. And I went through 3 levels of classes to learn the major way of healing in this tradition, which is called a limpia, limpia in English would mean just a cleansing. So to do a limpia espiritual, a spiritual cleansing, it's practiced among all people really from whose roots are in the Iberian Peninsula. So Latinos, Portuguese people, Brazilian people. In its simple form, it is reading the energy of someone. So when Sarah talks about the whole chakra system and how it integrates and affects energetically how we feel, how we relate to the world, those of us with mediumship gifts, how those gifts interact with us and with us in our environment. When those things get muddied or when those things get weakened, there is a special ritual using an egg and rubbing it on the person, and by doing that, energetically pulling out the things that are muddying the person and then getting rid of that in a glass of water. I learned how to read after the egg is broken, how the egg forms in the water, and from that I'm able to give the person a kind of a window into what's going on with them energetically. So that's the healing system that I learned. I was very, very fortunate to continue this journey of learning with a who has become a really, really good friend of mine. And I see her on the broadcast today too. Her name is Gladys Gordillo. Gladys is a root worker. She also comes from one of those Afro-Latin traditions. She's Cuban. And so she has continued to work with me on developing those skills of curanderismo, of being able to do healings those ways. And I have been studying with her, and through her studying the African-American folk tradition of root work and conjure. which is very influenced back and forth. It's kind of like a synergy. So it's been influenced by curanderismo, and curanderismo vice versa has been influenced in this country. So that's kind of been my journey.
Wow.
Through that, I have learned and studied also candle healing and the interpreting of candles. So the two primary works that I do is in the language that we use in healing, I set lights for people. And those candles are based on the corresponding color to the chakra system and what I will diagnose as a weakness in that energy field, or a specific saint or angel, or Orisha, which are the African deities or spirits that correspond to what I'm feeling energetically. And the candle is just another diagnostic method. It's a way of raising energy and vibration and sending it to the person. And then once the candle is finished, it's a way for me to look in just like the egg and kind of see, did this work? Is there a message in there for the person? And what may be going on intensity-wise with whatever energetic problem the person is having. So Sarah was wonderful to allow me when I was starting this out to be my guinea pig.
Yes.
And to help me grow this knowledge by working on her. And we really did develop, I think, this synergy where there are times when I will reach out to her and say, you know, I just feel something's going on. So you don't even need to say to me yes or no. I'm going to start a light for you, or I'm going to do a limpia for you. The wonderful thing about limpias is you can use a stand-in for the person. You can use a poppet, which is what I use. I actually have a stuffed doll that kind of looks like a lamb. I call him Lambkin, and Lambkin is my substitute for a person. Don't ask me how it works. It's kind of woo-woo, but it does. It works amazingly. And
Yes, it does work amazingly.
I've worked on people and I've worked on them through a puppet, and the results are essentially the same. And by the way, this is very traditional. Most curanderos, about half their practice is not hands-on, but it's done distance-wise.
I think that's a question that most people would have if you could work with them. Can I work with Jason because I live here? You know, I live over here. Can I work with Jason? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely. I am in Oregon. He is where he is, and he's able. Oh, I was also in England. It didn't matter the distance.
Yes.
Let me put it that way. I was in England. I've been in Montana. I have been in many different states, and Jason has been able to absolutely connect to what is going on with me, which, if you don't mind, I'd love to share a little story here, just a little one, of when I was in England. I was in England. I was far, far away. And I hadn't told anyone that I had a bladder infection, had something going on with my lady parts, and just to be real with you, and was not feeling well, and got a bloop on my phone and opened it, and it was Jason saying, okay, I don't know what's going on here, if it's in your kidney, it's your bladder, but you need to really focus on this. It was crazy how accurate Jason is. And I will say that we are connected, so there's definitely that. But when you came to me and you said, you know, I think I'm ready to take on, you know, a few new patients, if you will. And I think, you know, I was like, I'm so excited, because, you know, to be able to share you with the tribe and to be able to share you with the world and say, you know, if you're really looking for a true healer, and this is not just physical stuff, he does not just bloop on my phone.
I will do my disclaimer right now, which is I am not a doctor and I don't play one on TV.
Amen. However, holy crap, the information that I have received where I was like, yep, time to take my cranberry pills, time to do this, time to do that. But again, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Trust me, the way he works, he will find that, you know, emotional energy, that physical energy, and be able to work with that energy. So Cindy says the question is for both Sarah and Jason. Working in the chakra system with clients, have either of you noticed upgrades in how the system operates? Am I reading that right, Jason?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading too. So I'm going to jump in, Sydney. I'm not sure if I fully understand what you mean by upgrades. So I'm going to say what I think you mean.
Okay.
If you mean, especially if you've been doing chakra work through meditation, you've taken the wonderful Kundalini Reiki class that Sarah does, you will notice more of a synergy and connection with your chakras. And so, yes, I think a lot of what I do when I started healing, whether in person or on a poppet, I will use, by the way, a pendulum. So those of you who are taking any of Sarah's classes and she teaches about pendulums, please pay attention because it is an incredible diagnostic tool. So I will use a pendulum over each part of the chakras, and you can feel a blockage. And based on what I'm feeling, I ask questions to the person. There's actually a traditional part of Olympia Espiritual that's called a plática, and all plática just means is a talk, a dialogue, a discussion. And I'll start saying, so, you know, have you noticed that you're not dreaming a lot? Have you noticed that suddenly you kind of feel blocked? Your guides aren't talking to you. Situations that used to be so clear get kind of muddled. And I'm saying those questions, for example, because I'm seeing blocked with the pendulum, the crown chakra, or I'm seeing blocked with the third eye. You start to learn common energetic signatures for people. So a lot of you are budding mediums or experienced mediums. I will tell you, as a healer, I can tell right away when I'm working on someone who has mediumship gifts, because the areas that light up for me, the areas that are most either blocked or so open because you've been using them so much that you're kind of hyperactive, are really the chakras that start with your throat. It's your throat, your third eye, and your crown, because you're using your gifts that way. You're speaking your truth about what you're receiving. You're constantly checking with spirit through your third eye. And that connection that you have with God, in however you call God, is that crown. And so either when you are getting sick or someone is, we say in the language of curanderismo, somebody's throwing something at you. Somebody has some bad intentions and sent that energy to you, or you simply encountered an energy that's negative. I once did Olympia on someone and they had a whole bunch of little signatures that we call crossings. They're just tiny spikes when I'm reading the albumin in the water. And I said, so did you like get into a fight or anything with it? And the person said to me, oh my gosh, I had the hugest road rage on the way to see you. This guy cut me off. I was screaming at him. He was flipping the bird to me. That will come across energetically. That's a crossing. When we say something, even in the moment in anger, we're sending energy out. And that energy goes to the person we're saying it to, because we have an intention. In road rage, we're angry at them. And that energy enters their energetic field, and it affects the flow of energy in the corresponding chakra. When you are at work and frustrated with your boss, and it's like, oh, I'd like to tell that person off, but you hold it inside. In a healing, when I'm looking at that, I will often feel your throat chakra just really, really blocked. because you're not speaking your truth. You're not saying what you want to. Usually if someone is worried about someone close to them who's sick, or you may have had a death, it will affect energetically your heart chakra. You got an eviction notice. Your root chakra is going to be weakened. So the chakras kind of give me a window into what may be going on with you. One of the things that a healer can tell by reading the person is whether your chakras are talking to each other. And very often I will say to people, your energy is very strong, but it's not unified. So spend some time in meditation. Spend some time in taking what's coming down in your crown, what you're seeing in your third eye, and sending those thoughts and that energy to your mouth. Send it down to your heart first if you don't know what to say. Ask it to come back up through your mouth. A lot of energetic or spiritual healing is not so much, yes, it's working on the individual chakra, but it's also blocking the flow. It's kind of like you got a clog in your sink. Think of a limpia as kind of spiritual Drano.
Yeah.
It's moving the clog is what it's doing. And that's really what energy work is. And as you work with someone more and more as a client, so I've worked with Sarah now, we've worked for, going on to almost 2 years, I think.
Yes, back and forth, yes.
A back and forth. So
Yep.
I can read her energetic signature now. So I will be going about my day and something will happen with her and I will just shoot her a text saying,
Yep.
I don't know what's going on. You have something going on tonight, but I'm really kind of feeling like somebody is blocking you, or are you feeling out of sorts? Did you go into a place because I'm really feeling you drained?
Yeah.
And she'll come back and say, boy, I got hit hard when I did this walkthrough through a place. Or you know what, I'm working with this person and I just kind of detect there might be a little bit of something going on.
Yeah.
It's because it becomes familiar. It's the same as those of you who read tarot, for example. You read someone over and over again and the cards just flow. It's because you and that person's energies have become comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
The cards are no different than my egg when it comes to reading the person's energy and giving them, I don't want to call it a diagnosis, but giving them a window that perhaps you're not able to see in yourself. Sometimes it's harder for us to see what's going on inside because we're so involved in it. And it's easier for someone else to say that. So
I think
that's a long way, Sydney, to answer your question. I hope it helped.
No, I think you did great, Jason. And I would say, why do I think this is important for those of you that have your own practice and are giving readings and healers yourself? Why would a healer need a healer? Why? Why would a healer need a healer?
Oh my gosh.
For me, it's because my focus is on my students. My focus is on my healings. My focus is absolutely 110%. I am all in. I don't fuck around. I'm all in. If you're one of my students, it's ride or die, baby. We're going all the way. And so my focus is here. And I've been taught many times to take a break. And I do this where I take a break and I visualize myself and I cut the cords and I remove these entities or ickies off me. I'll do a little ceremony and then I'm back at it. I am fully focused. I am back at it, going back, flying out to this location, flying out to this. So my focus, I have to admit this is a tight focus range. And it is not on myself. And so for me, when I knew I needed to take it to the next level is I had some psychic attacks. And that's really normal for people in television because people just decide it's okay that they don't like you. And they're going to write a whole chapter on why they don't like you and how you did the investigation wrong. And that you're just the ugliest psychic medium they've ever seen. And you name it. And I've had it said about me. I've had it said about me over and over again. And I just, oh, it didn't bug me. On to the next thing. Oh, it didn't really bug me. On to the next thing. Oh, no, it was doing damage to the chakra system, the etheric body. It was doing damage to my throat chakra. I mean, we were dealing with things on a weekly basis for a while because of the amount of psychic attacks. Now, working with other psychic mediums and sharing their energy is great until it goes south. And you have somebody who's that energetically connected that now has these emotions and or feelings that they don't like you so much anymore. And so you're getting carved at. And so for me, that's one reason that I think that's in the beginning, I turned to Jason and said, listen, this isn't working. I need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm glad Sarah brought that up. And I know a lot of you are going to be starting vocations. I don't want to call it a career because really it's a vocation in mediumship or in some kind of energetic reading. And I include tarot, for example, in that. You're going to find people consciously or subconsciously. And it can be as innocent as them getting disappointed in what you told them or didn't tell them. Yep. And, you know, we speak our truths. And if our guides don't say something to someone, even though we know they want to hear it, we don't say it because that's not being true. And if we do that, that's when our connection with spirit starts to break down. Mm-hmm. So they get disappointed. And you're wide open when you're healing or when you're doing a reading or when you're working with someone and you take that on. And it affects you. And
even if you take 10, 15 minutes to ground down, wash away, do all of that, you understand that you are wide open, not kind of open. And that, and boom. And when it goes off, we breathe it in, we take it into our chakra systems, we take it into our etheric body, we take it into our systems, our organs, our bones, our muscles, and those emotional states, depression, anxiety, those all being fueled by what we are inhaling. And so having someone work on you is, to me, it's been pure magic.
I have a healer. I'm going to out my healer right now because she's on here. My friend Gladys is my healer. I could not do what I do without Gladys. And there are times when I'm working on a particular person. I have a very, very good friend that I do some work on right now who's struggling with a very, very aggressive form of cancer. And very recently, Gladys said to me, "Oh boy, you dusty, you dusty," which is kind of healer code word in the curandero community for you got a lot going on, you need to be cleaned out. And I was just like, no, I'm good, I'm good. She's like, no, you dusty. And she did Olympia and that egg was nasty. Yeah. That was just, and I felt, it's not so much a burden lifted, but I felt the energy in me equalize, regularize. I felt it start to flow again. When I do healings, when I work with Sarah, I take on some of that stuff. I take it on when I interpret her candles. I take it on when I'm doing the Olympia because I'm opening up myself. I'm letting myself be a channel. Usually I end at least Olympia with doing some Reiki. Those of you who are Reiki practitioners, you know that once you do the chokure and you start that contact with a person, there's an energy exchange between you and that person. You can't deny it. If there wasn't, it wouldn't work. You know, so you are kind of taking that on. It's part of the makeup of those of us who are mediums or those of us who are healers. We're empaths. We take on people's energetic signatures. We take on structures, signatures too. There were a couple of times in your, I always get the title mixed up, Sarah.
Yeah, no worries.
The mines in Montana, the Town Terror.
Yeah, Ghost Town Terror.
Ghost Town Terror.
Yes.
So, you know, we take in a lot of stuff visually as healers. So I'm watching the episode and there's the episode with the two guys and they're at the hole to the mine and they're deciding whether they're going to go down or not. And I got hit.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff down there. So you're walking through places. I worked on a friend of mine a couple of times because he's a real estate agent. And he's going in and out of homes that may be empty, but they're a key.
Yes, they are. They're dirty.
Every now and then he says, I don't know what happened. I left this house and I have been off my game the rest of the week. We read the energy around us, even if it's what we're watching kind of on TV.
And may I say something, Jason? One thing that I think is really important too is there's the old ways and then there's new ways, and new age woo-woo shit. You have to be real careful with. You have to be very, very, very careful with, because it's become all light and love. And not that I don't appreciate that, y'all, because I do. But there is so much to be said for what we do and what we collect, where we go, what we bring home with us. And there is something to be said that, having a friend that is your teammate that says, whoa, which mine is also in here today. Kinsey is in here, and it's literally, she'll go, whoa, right? You Dusty. I get that from Kinsey, and Kinsey will do some work on me too. But it's having these friends that go, you may think you're okay, but I'm telling you, as your healer friend, I'm calling this. I'm calling it right now. I'm fine. Nothing's going on with me. Okay. That's great. But what I'm experiencing is this. And so I do have a group, a very small group that is allowed to call me out and is allowed to say, you know what, you say you're fine, but there's something wrong here. And there's something that needs to be looked at.
Well, and so you touched on something, and so I'm going to kind of go there because a lot of people don't talk about it. And you touched on, especially for you, because you're in media, but for any of you, as you get good at your craft, you engendered jealousy.
Yeah.
And we call it in traditional folk healing, we call it the evil eye, mal de ojo. Mal olhado in Portuguese is what I grew up with. And really what the evil eye is someone consciously or unconsciously either being envious or jealous or angry at you, and focusing with intent, whether they know they're doing it or not, those emotions on you. And it is one of the easiest things to do. And it's probably the most common thing I pull out of people. And as you work and get to know more people in our community that does a lot of traditional practices or new age practices, there are people who make a living at directing those negative forces for people.
Yep.
And it happens all the time. And the more exposed or the more popular you are, the more it happens. Oh, yeah. The more you spread your social group, the more you learn that the names of those people who can do that. And some of the things that I do as a traditional healer are cleansing works because I know someone's thrown a spell at someone, because I know that someone has intentionally done mal de ojo to them. When Sarah was talking about those reviews and writing them and those horrible poison pen emails, so think about doing that. That's spell work.
Oh, without a
That's a spell.
Yeah.
A spell is writing something down and saying the words and putting your intention in it. We don't think about it now because, it's become so natural. If I don't like someone, I'm going to trash them in an email on a site. What you are doing is the modern 2022 version of writing a spell.
Yep.
And that's a lot of what the kind of healers that I am, that's a lot of what curanderos or brujos do, is pull those negative energies out that people are sending. The more I've kind of found a formula, the more good in the world that you do, the more stuff gets thrown at you.
Yes. Yes. And I know many people, when you take that next step, it's like, why was it so hard to take that next step in my job and in my healing practice? I've always wanted to blah, 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 but why was it so difficult? Why did that end up being so hard after? And it's because we celebrated on Facebook, we celebrated in Instagram, we celebrated, in social media. And all of a sudden people are like, well, why does he deserve that? Well, why can't I have that? Why? And that energy is flowing and flowing to you. And unless you are protecting yourself or setting protection, or you have a group of people that are going to go, hey, you got stuff coming your way. We need to look at this and we need to figure out how we're going to deal with it, because you're not ready for what's about to hit you. And I appreciate so much. Speaking of, can we talk about this just a little bit? Jason, is that okay?
Yes.
Or no? Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gladys. Just give me a thumbs up, Gladys.
Yeah, Gladys is
okay.
okay. Gladys.
Yeah, Gladys is okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Gladys also makes some incredible earthing and grounding and protection. I have a whole set that she sent me. Having something like this that is quick and easy, just to spray on myself when I'm about to go into something or after I come out of something. Some of you guys know that I went to, I always say it wrong. I went to England. I went to the most haunted location in England, at least that's what they say. And I immediately made sure I took something with me that could protect me and keep me while being so far away from my healers. And so far away, I thought maybe I wouldn't be caught, but I was protected the whole time. And it was amazing to have some things that just, if you have somebody that produces these things, having these type of things. I know Sydney also makes a lot of protection things. Sid, a lot of people use her protection spray.
I just saw, Sydney, that you're a root worker. Right on.
Yeah. So, but having these little things, and before I was like, I don't need them. Everything's fine. I will know if something's on me. I know the difference between light. I know the difference between dark. Let me just tell you. Well, let me just tell you that, I've had healers call me out, and Mackenzie is one of them. And it's like, you're not where you think you are. And there's stuff we need to work on and stuff we need to remove. Having something like this with you is freedom. And it's literally freedom. Now, of course, I wouldn't have known this type of stuff. This is something that Jason felt that I needed and made sure that a package was delivered. And I want to talk a little bit about Jason, because as we move through the hour, that you are looking to bring on a few more people. Now, Jason is not a reader. He's not taking on the world. If you're lucky, Jason will take you as a client, and he's not taking every client. He's not accepting everyone. He's interviewing and he's seeing who his spiritual team, if I may call them that, accepts. And that's who he's going to be. So in a while, he'll be telling you how you can contact him, but he is not taking on everyone, because he knows as a healer that he can only carry so much. And he's been told this, and he's listening. Many of us, like myself, have taken on the world. And that's, for some of us, that's what we do. For others, that is not what we do. And so Jason has made it very clear to me that he'll be bringing on 2, maybe more, that's up to him. But as of our last conversation, 2 people to work with, and to continue his modalities and his practices. He doesn't need to practice on anyone. Jason does not need to practice. Jason is beyond that. To me, his healings and his magic and his energy, like I said, are spot on, or I wouldn't have him on. Like I said, being in England and literally going, oh man, I'm going to have to do something about this bladder infection. This is not good. How am I supposed to travel? And bloop, hey, Sarah, I just want you to check on your kidneys. I was below, no, not Siri. Siri, no, I said Sarah. Okay, we almost had Siri talking there. And so to know that by no means is he asking for people to practice on, guys. He's way beyond practice. This is raised and ingrained in him. He's bringing back his traditions. He's practicing the things that his family, those who have walked before him, he is walking alongside them now. I
think I'll say a little bit about how I choose to work with somebody.
Yes, please. I'm so sorry.
Because
Please.
it's a practice that actually I've checked out a lot of what has come intuitively with my mom. God bless her. My mom's 94 years old right now. She's back home in Hawaii. And I got her blessing after I finished my class on limpias, on curanderismo, and felt called to do this. And by the way, I started having dreams then of my great grandmother, who I never met, who died about 6 years before I was born. She was the feiticeira. I wanted my mother's blessing, and my mother, who has always shied away from stuff like this, she would take us to my aunt's for healing, and we never talked about what was going on. And my mom never talked about it outside of there. It made my dad nervous. It made my mom nervous. But they grew up believing in it. So my mom gave me the blessing because she said, you're the only one in the family now who's shown any interest in doing this. And I don't want that line to die out in our family. We have a belief that if it skips more than 3 generations, the gift is taken from a family, because you're telling spirit, we don't want that gift anymore, or we don't want the responsibility for it.
Right.
And in our beliefs among Portuguese healers, once the gift is taken, it's never given back. It leaves the family. So my mom did not want to see that happen. I would be the 3rd generation. And my mom wanted someone, in case any of her grandchildren or great-grandchildren wanted to take it up, who would be able to teach it. The way this works is when someone comes to a curandeira, curandeiro, or a benzadeira, in our tradition, is you pray about it and you ask your guides. In this case, it's my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my grandaunt. And you ask the saint that you work with. And I work with the saints. I am religiously a Jew. So I'm a Jew that works with Catholic saints, because the saints are nothing more than guides, right? They're people who lived wonderful lives and have chosen in the next world to continue to do good, and to do it by communicating with those of us who are still on this plane. That's all a saint is. Whether they're a Buddhist saint or a Catholic saint, everybody has holy people. Jews do, we call them tzaddikim. So I have a couple of my healer saints, and I will go to St. Clair, to Santa Clara. I will go to San Miguel. I will go to St. Michael the Archangel. I will go to my grandma's saint, St. Teresa. And I will say, here's this person, here is their name. Do you want to let me help them? And then I just sit and I meditate and I wait for the feeling to come. Sometimes it's instantaneous. My body will get all warm. A couple times I've actually felt someone come from behind me and push me, like, go get them. And there are times when I am told very, very clearly, this person is not for you. I never ask why. I just simply accept that. But that's the tradition. Somebody posted on here earlier, let me know your rates. And Sarah and I have talked about this. I'm still on the fence about any kind of
we're fighting about it. We're currently
fighting any kind of payments, because in the tradition in Portugal, not in other places, but among the Portuguese, you never charge for healing. We have a belief that if you ask for money, the gift will be taken from you, because we believe this is a privilege that God is allowing us to do. And because it's a blessing, it's a way of giving a blessing from the divine to people, you shouldn't charge money. The tradition is you do a healing for someone, they give you whatever they want. Sometimes it's money. When I was a little kid, my grandmother was pretty famous for making a type of Portuguese bread. We call it Portuguese sweetbread, massa sovada. It's where Hawaiian's king's bread, by the way, comes from.
Oh, yum.
So that's just a modernization of traditional sweetbread. So she would bake loaves. And when we would go and see my Auntie Georgina when I was a kid, she would bring with her 3 loaves of sweetbread of masa cevada. That was her offering for my aunt to try. Whether the healing worked or not, it was immaterial. She was willing to try and put herself out energetically to help her grandchild. So my grandmother gave that. My aunt never charged, never asked for anything.
And I
Nothing was
totally
ever
respect
said.
that.
At the end of it, we left. My grandmother and my aunt never had a discussion. She'd leave the loaves on the table. They'd say goodbye and out the door. My mom would sometimes bring an envelope with money to it. Nothing was ever said. She left it in front of the altar of the saints that my aunt had, and she'd walk out the door. It's not talked about. So I'm very traditional, as Sarah can attest.
Yes.
So I'm still struggling with that part. So I want whoever the 2 folks I'm gonna take on, I want you to know that this is in that tradition. You know, if you feel moved in any way, you know, you can message me and I'll say, yeah or no, that's okay. But there is no charge, because I'm still at that place now where I'm not comfortable with doing that. I call my guides my ladies, because there's 3 of them and they're all
That's
women.
correct. Yeah.
And my ladies have still said no. So this is kind of where I'm at. What I talked with Sarah about is, if you are interested in this, if you could, just a little bit about why you are interested in that. Would they be able to write you, Sarah, and you send them to me?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, you can. So you can definitely message me on Messenger. You're welcome to do that, or in the tribe. I will make a post that's the video of this, and you can write in, and if you want, and I'll make sure that Jason sees it. Those are several different ways. That way, the information, I'm not going to say to email me, because that's the worst way to get a hold of me.
Yeah. Same with me.
Yeah, so you're welcome to send me a private message on Facebook, or there will be a place for you to write in on our Tribe That Thrives. Now, Jason brought up a great point of him doing the old way, and I respect that. There is I want to say, as a teacher to many of my students who are listening right now, I do believe in energy exchange. And that's exactly what Jason was explaining. The bread was the energetic exchange for the reading. And that is the yin and yang, right? So that is energy extension and movement.
Yes.
And we need that, because healers, I do believe all healers, tarot readers, oracle readers, Kundalini Reiki masters, Yeshui masters, whatever it is that you do, energy exchange is very important. So no cup is ever empty, that we all fill each other's cups. So when Jason's ready, he will be charging for this, because at some point the energy exchange, I'm sure, will be important for him too. That's just my, there we go.
Well, and I want to say, without saying too much, I came on that not in someone I have a, well, yeah, so someone I did some work for. And I know what it's like to feel that imbalanced.
Yeah.
Because the person doing the work we're human, and sometimes we feel resentful.
Yes.
And Sarah beautifully talked me through that. So it is something that, you know, I am aware of. I'm also learning that, you know, I'm not a kid. I'm 63 years old. So I'm not 4 years old in the early 1960s back in Honolulu, seeing my 87-year-old grandaunt.
Right.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
You know, people don't exchange chicken eggs and you know, instead we do Apple Pay, and we do, you know, so it's dragging my technophobic ass into the 21st century. And I am getting comfortable with that. It's enough that I actually had a talk with my mom about it. And she's like, well, you know, you should. I mean, you know,
oh, good.
As my mother said, you know, credit card, loaf of bread. What's different?
Yes.
Okay, well, good point.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And guys, I'll tell you, it's been 2 years that Jason and I have been working together. And I can tell you that for me, I have my group. Jason will always be a part of that group. It's a very small group of those I check in with, I check myself with, and I as a teacher myself and healer myself, I was doing many healings. I was doing at least 3 to 5 a week, and was doing this week after week after week after week after week after week after week. And I can see why Jason is taking on 2. I can see that, not that I didn't give my all, but I gave my all to the place of depletion. There was not much.
As her healer, I will say that Sarah and I had a conversation about that. And I did say, it's the wisdom she said earlier. You cannot and should not give to the point where your well is dry, or there's just a couple of drops left. Because in our busy world, we don't have the time to fill it, that well again, when it gets that low. And when it gets that low, that's when things start to happen with us energetically. We get illnesses, we get depression, we start making clumsy mistakes, like locking the keys in the car or forgetting to turn the stove off, or because we're depleted in our ability to be aware of our surroundings, becomes muddied. There's a question on here that I do want to quickly answer. No, I do not. So it's a question about ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono, by the way, in Hawaiian, I do speak Hawaiian. Ho'oponopono means in Hawaiian, ho'o means to make something happen. Pono means to make something. It's usually translated as good or right. It actually more so means in balance, to put something in balance. In Hawaiian, when we want to emphasize something, we repeat it. So our word for wealth is vai vai. Vai is water. Lots of water in the old days was wealthy, because if you had a lot of water, you had good taro fields. If you had a lot of water, you knew that your family was safe. So wai wealth, wai water. Ho'oponopono, ponopono, to make something correct again. I grew up in the Hawaiian part of my family where we practice ho'oponopono. It's been taken, and I think in some ways been co-opted culturally, especially by New Age practitioners, to mean let's make everything light and sunshiny. And that's not what ho'oponopono means. I learned a very, very traditional way of ho'oponopono, so I can't practice it on you, because the method I learned, you really have to internalize Hawaiian values to do that, because there are some rituals that we do that I can't talk about in public, but it's part of that. And it also means having a head, having a po'o is the Hawaiian word that leads that. And that's usually our elder. And when you do ho'oponopono traditionally, people take off of work. There's no time limit. The elder says when the healing is completed. And you also have to completely trust your elder. So the elder at the end of the ho'oponopono tells you what to do. And we're Westerners now. A lot of us, it's very hard to say, you know what, I don't agree with that, I'm sorry. You commit to that practice, you commit to doing what the elder says. If you don't at the end of the ho'oponopono, then that negative energetic impact hits the entire family.
Oh.
So it also means peeling layers like an onion. So you get at the root of the cause that makes the person. It's relationships being torn asunder. So people use ho'oponopono for other reasons. And a lot of times that's why it doesn't work. It really is human relations that we're talking about, that you're making correct again. And you have to get at the root of that, which means you might be digging up a lot of dirt in order to get to that root that people don't want to hear. Once you start a Ho'oponopono, you can't stop, and you have to be honest. You commit to being honest. And the po'o will call you on it. I have been at Ho'oponoponos where they said, no, there's more. What else? No, what else? When did you first get ticked off by her? What was it? And I was in one when I was in my teens that my relatives flew in from another island. We were in my great aunt's house for like 5.5 days. Wow. People were calling in sick to work because she kept saying, we're not done. We're not done. Wow. We're not done.
It's incredible because to us, Jason, it's just literally, I'm sorry, thank you, please forgive me, or it's you say it over and over again.
Which, by the way, in no way, shape, or form is in the process of Ho'oponopono.
Wow. Boom.
That formula does not exist. I don't know who made up that cute little chant.
Yeah.
I want to take them and shake them.
Yeah.
They have no idea the cultural damage that they have done to my people. Wow. By doing that. It is the same as with my Native American friends and vision quests. People are wandering off and getting lost in the wilderness.
Yes.
Taking ayahuasca and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Going because they think that that's what you do to have a vision quest. No, you're led with an elder. There are rituals that are done before that.
Yeah, that I know.
You get the vision and you go back, and there are elders and doctor people in your tribe who interpret that and help you and then take it to the next level. Yeah. And that's the same with Ho'oponopono. Okay, you've done the Ho'oponopono. The last thing we do is, okay, so what are we going to do? We've repaired the injury now. What are we going to do in our lives as a family to make sure it doesn't happen again?
No wonder I was getting that. That's amazing.
So long story short, I don't do Ho'oponopono. If you are doing Ho'oponopono, taking Ho'oponopono, the two things I would ask you to ask, and we Hawaiians do this with anyone. And I said I'm mixed race, so I'm Portuguese, Hawaiian, Chinese, and English is what I'm.
Is that all?
I'm a mutt. One of the things we ask always is, who is your teacher and what's your lineage? Don't take Ho'oponopono from someone who cannot tell you, my teacher's name is this, she or he learned from this, she or he learned from this. It's the same thing with traditional hula. We ask, who's your teacher? What's your lineage? Wow. Because these cultural practices are like a genealogy. Wow. And they should be able to tell you the tradition they're carrying on. If they can't name that, they learned this from a book.
Yes.
And you don't need to pay the $350 a week for the year-long seminar. Buy the book. Yeah. You'll get the same amount out of it.
Exactly. Wow. Jason, thank you for sharing so much of your amazing, you're so, every time I've tried, I always walk away with just a little something. So thank you for sharing so much with us today. I'm so glad that I had you on, and I'm so glad that this is one of your first steps in your new adventure. And I will always be here to hold your hand. And
you have no idea how hard it was for her my joke with Sarah, she dragged me out of the woo-woo closet.
I sure did. I was pulling
and man, I fought every step of the way.
So I'm so glad we had some time today, and I'd love to have you on again if you don't mind. It would be a lot of fun to have you on again. And again, if you guys are looking to, there will be a place in the tribe that will say, if you're wanting to be submitted as one of Jason's, what would you want to call it, Jason?
Clients.
There we go. Clients. Thank you. I love it. That there's the opportunity that will be posted in the tribe. That way he can see it and choose from there in his own way. So again, thank you, Jason, for being on. I'm so excited for you in this next step.
I'm really touched that you even thought to ask me. Thank you.
Well, hell yes. So again, guys, that's how you can get a hold of Jason, is through me in the Tribe That Thrives. And as he opens up his practice more, I promise to let you all know. Sending light and love to all those healers out there. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, fabulous tribe. Love you guys.